This is about 6 degrees of separation. I caught, by accident, John Guar's 6 Degrees of Separation on TV the other day. With commercial breaks, those very annoying pitches for insurance companies and attorneys who offer free consultations and no fee unless they win your case. With all those added on, the running time was well over 2 hours, and I was praying for the thing to end, but I did hang with it. It's a story about identity and a collection of haves and one particular have-not. The acting is over the top and hysterical at times, as it is supposed to be. But it is amazing to see these seemingly impervious and very wealthy Fifth Avenue families get duped by a superb young con man, played to smooth perfection by Will Smith. Smith was fascinating to watch and even better to hear as he employed his highly polished accent and flung out quotes from Jung and Freud and anyone else who might be impressive. Part of his con is that he's been mugged and the thief took his wallet, money, and a briefcase containing a thesis he'd been working on for a class at Harvard. It was at Harvard, of course, that he befriended the children of the people in the apartment, where he came after he was robbed and assaulted, for he has suffered a slight abdominal stab wound. He knows quite a lot about the family, telling details, and that solidifies his position. They clean and patch him up and insist that he accompany them out for dinner. Even better, he talks them into staying home where he cooks them a gourmet meal while they converse on art, philosophy, life, and the transformative role of the imagination. It's bracing. It's like their somnolent lives have been given a jump start. They ask him about his thesis, and Smith delivers a stirring presentation on Catcher in the Rye, quoting verbatim from the text, and noting that the shooters of John Lennon and Ronald Reagan considered it a seminal book, an argument for retributive action against the false and corrupt establishment. Like I said, it's bracing. He's in town, Smith said, to visit his father, Sidney Poitier, who is going to direct a movie version of Cats. By now, the people he is with adore him, idolize him, and ask him to stay the night. There's a possibility that they might appear as extras in his father's movie. But in the morning, when they find him in bed with a homeless man he's picked up to celebrate, they are horrified, feel betrayed, and run them both out. Then they wonder how much of what he told them was true. Who was he? To find out, they contact their children. Their children, across the board, are not helpful and full of resentment. The parents find themselves wishing that they had a child like Paul Poitier, even though they know he's an imposter and that he doesn't really exist. They do trace him back to a student at MIT who went to high school with their children and who admits that he picked him up in an alley and, in exchange for sex, gave him his address book with their names, to which he attached all the lurid family details, along with speech lessons. As one of the parents says, who knew he'd turn out to be Henry Higgins? Of all the people in the families he duped, only one is touched by the young man. He contacts her on the phone and begs her for help. She agrees to turn him in to the police and says she will stand up for him, but he gets swept away and lost in the system, and she doesn't know his real name. She tries to find him, but she can't. He may be the person who hanged himself in a cell with a pink shirt. The 6 degrees of separation refers to a pretty little theory that all humanity is connected by a chain of 6 people who know one another, 1 to 1 to 1, etc. I always thought, therefore, that it should more properly be 6 degrees of connection, but with Guar, it's separation, what keeps us apart, not connection. The young man cleverly penetrated their homes and their lives, but ultimately they were able to expose his duplicity and repel him. Our personal, individual lives are what keep us apart, not together. If we do come together, it is strictly for some personal gain or satisfaction, not because we wish to connect with another. 6 degrees of separation are between everyone: a beggar in India and a dictator in Peru, a painter in Tokyo and a farmer in Nebraska, a man living on Fifth Avenue in New York, and his wife.